Hi everyone, my name is Vasiliki. I run Kimatan, a local creative studio based out of Minneapolis. We work with small businesses, corporations, nonprofits, and local organizations to create memorable exchanges that really celebrate and showcase all that we have that's local. We're really excited by experiences like these that really bring the community together, and we can have a conversation and get to know everything and some of the small business owners here. Here I'm just sharing some experiences, and the past slide was some of our partners in the last year that we've been around. March is actually our birthday month. We started last March 2020 in the beginning of the pandemic. That is it for me. I'm really happy to connect. If you'd like to learn more, I'll drop some of all of our contact information actually, and then as well as our email for Kimatan. With all of that, I'm gonna pass it on over to Madison. I'll do a little quick intro, Madison, and then I'll pass it on over. And let me stop sharing my screen, and then I'll highlight our speakers and our panelists. Okay, cool. Right. So Madison is the owner of Madison in Minneapolis. If you've viewed her Instagram or you've been on her website, you'll know that she really loves to showcase the culinary talent in the Twin Cities. And she'll be moderating a conversation today with Yasameen from Maazah Chutney, with Belén from Quebracho Empanadas, and Dana from MinnyRow Market. So I'm excited to pass it on over, and thank you everyone again for joining.
Great. Thank you very much. So I am Madison, like she said, and I will be moderating this panel. However, I think it would be great if anyone has questions, they can drop it in the chat so we can handle those live. But otherwise, you see the three lovely panelists on the spotlight here. Do you guys want to each introduce yourself first and a little bit about your business?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Dana Smith, co-owner of MinnyRow Market, a small-scale grocer in Hopkins, downtown. And we opened in November, about 4 months in, and we specialize in locally sourced and ethically produced foods. And yeah.
I can go next. My name is Yasameen of Maazah. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Maazah. Maazah means flavor in Farsi. It's a family-run business. It's myself, my mom, and my two sisters. And we make a cilantro and ginger chutney. We have 3 offerings right now, and we're looking forward to expanding.
All right, thank you and welcome everybody. My name is Belén Rodriguez. I am the founder and CEO of Quebracho Empanadas. We opened back in the winter of 2018 under a slightly different concept. We focused on different varieties of savory pies, and our main focus was events and farmers markets. And then last year with the pandemic, we were forced to shut down. So we decided to pivot and adapt to the situation, and we started or rebranded as Quebracho Empanadas. So essentially I took my grandmother's recipes, and we are now a wholesale manufacturer based out of St. Paul, currently in 25 Twin Cities grocery stores. And again, like Yasameen, just getting started on our journey as a wholesaler and trying to learn more about becoming a CEO and expanding.
Great. Thank you for those introductions. So I have a lot of questions I've had prepared because I'm excited to talk with you guys, but I think a good place to get started is, I think this group would love to hear how each of you got started and how your upbringing or maybe some of your cultural experiences shaped what you have created. So I don't know if we want to just, if anyone wants to jump in, we can kind of pass it along, or if people want to jump in now, that'd be good.
Sure, I can go ahead and explain a little bit about my experience. Well, like I said, I started Quebracho in the winter of 2018 after planning the business for a full year. In Argentina, I actually went to school for translation and conference interpreting. I was, believe it or not, specialized in clinical trial protocols. So quite the change from making empanadas. But after my husband and I relocated to Minneapolis, he's from the North Shore here in Minnesota, I really took on cooking as a way of coping with being homesick and away from my family. Everybody lives down there still, so it was a good way for me to connect with my roots and everything that I enjoyed. I really, really miss those family Sundays, barbecuing and grilling and eating my grandmother's empanadas. So yeah, that's how we started. And, it's been very much a journey about fusing, my family roots, my culture, my heritage, and bringing it and turn it into a product that people can enjoy here, and hopefully that it becomes a staple in their own homes.
That's great.
I can go next. So we grew up eating our mom's cilantro and ginger chutney on everything, and we're still eating it on everything. I think my sisters and I knew that we always wanted to do something in food. We weren't quite sure what it was, and one day my mom added fresh ginger to her chutney recipe, and everything, it just made sense. A light bulb went off, and we just hit the ground running. That summer, we started making little jars of chutney, like 25 jars at a time, out of my sister's kitchen. We started introducing more people to chutney and how you use it and the different flavors it can be and where it can come from, not just Afghanistan, but all over. And it's just been slowly building since then.
Awesome. What's your favorite combination with your chutney? Or what's your favorite application of it?
For sure. I think on the regular, it's my egg and avocado sandwiches in the mornings. And then I think I am really excited for grilling season and doing kebabs and burgers, and anything off the grill is perfect.
Sounds awesome. Dana, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go. So MinnyRow Market, it started as a blog. I was something I wrote under. My background's in journalism, and I've always liked to write, but never took it into a long career or anything like that. And so my husband, Peter, his background was in food. And so when the pandemic happened, his job changed drastically, as everyone's did. And we had the time to kind of figure out what we wanted to do in life. And so we put our two backgrounds together as, customer service and journalism and knowledge of food. And we decided to open Minnesota, made products at MinnyRow Market. And yeah, it's just something we always wanted to do. And we like highlighting local vendors, because we realized when you go to, national brands like Target or Whole Foods, you see local makers, but sometimes they're hidden on the shelves. They're not, showcased because they're not paying the money that some of the larger corporations can pay for. And so we want to take that on and highlight those makers, have a spot for them to showcase their products, and before they, launch into huge corporation world. So that was the background for MinnyRow Market.
Great. All right, so switching gears a little bit here. What are some of the unique joys and challenges of running a woman-owned business, and sometimes what can be a pretty male-dominated industry?
I feel like some of the joys is kind of like the camaraderie between different women-owned businesses. Once you start to meet people, and you just kind of have that appreciation for each other and the work you do. Because I feel like one of the joys too is like, I'm really good at multitasking, but at the same time, it's hard because you want to do so much and you can't do it all. And so I feel like that's a challenge for me that I've been trying to work on. But just knowing that I can talk to other women-owned businesses and be like, how do you work this out? Because I need some help. And just being available for people, I think, is one of the joys I've seen.
Yeah, if I can jump in, I would have to second what Dana is saying here. Me coming from the food industry as well, my transition into the food world led me to working in restaurants for a little while. I actually, if you guys don't know, or if you read the bio that Dana wrote about us, Peter, her husband, and I worked together at Camp Yellow, Eden Prairie. That was actually one of my first restaurant job, and Peter was the sous chef there at the time. And then I transitioned to restaurants in downtown Minneapolis, and sometimes you can see within the groups themselves in the restaurant, there's a lot of camaraderie as well, but you can see that the industry overall is not, there isn't as much like companionship, or there's a bit more competition. But I feel once we all made the leap into running our own businesses, particularly small business or startup founders, there's so many challenges involved that it's inevitable that you talk to other people about what their journey has been, what their challenges are. And I see there somebody is writing, the group Women Who Really Cook for Women in the food industry is a great place to network. And I agree. I was fortunate to have been invited to one of their meetings as a speaker, and I can honestly say that is a wonderful place for women to collaborate and support each other.
For me, being a part of a all-female founder and my family, has been the biggest joy. I think working with my sisters and my mom, and kind of seeing a different side of my family. We're all from different industries and backgrounds. So my sisters are art and design, the sciences. I'm more business, social enterprise. My mom is sales, accounting. I mean, she's the inspiration of everything, but her background is accounting. So being able to see that different side of my family has been really cool. And then being able to come together to use that expertise and create Maazah has been a really special opportunity for us all. I think selling chutney or anything that is a little bit different in the Midwest has been interesting. I think we all said it before, that the challenge is, it's in grocery for sure, it's male dominated. There's not a lot of women buyers out there, and there's not a lot of buyers that look like me. And when you do get in front of a buyer, you are just, crossing your fingers that they're willing and curious, because it's a delicate balance of selling them and also educating them. And you just are hoping that you have the attention of someone that's gonna take a little bit of time to take a step back and learn something new.
So I know everyone is tired of talking about the pandemic, given we've been in it for a while now, but unfortunately it's the reality of the situation that we've all been living in, especially you three as business owners. Specifically to my situation too, for those on the call who aren't familiar, I have a website that I have compiled restaurant recommendations, and my whole passion behind Madison and Minneapolis is creating a space that people can talk about their experiences, gathering with others and sharing food, which is something that I love. And obviously during the pandemic, the gathering piece of that has gone away to an extent. And I personally feel that food is best enjoyed when you're with other people. So how do you guys resonate with that? Or how have you had to adapt your businesses? Some of you opened during the pandemic, I know, but how have you had to adapt given the changing regulations with the pandemic?
I can go and talk a little bit about that. I think it's, for us, required a lot of adaptability and stepping into areas that you're not, or situations, putting yourself in situations that you wouldn't normally be that comfortable with, right? And having to explore a little bit about, marketing options and how to connect people in a different way. But I've always been a little bit of a back of house type person. But this job and this company has put me at the forefront, and then I ended up discovering that I really, really enjoy doing what I do, because that's how that's how it started, right? It started about family relationships and connecting with people. I feel before the pandemic, we were able to connect with people a lot through sampling and talking at farmers markets, but definitely everything has switched to such a virtual and remote mode now that it really pushes you to have to not only look for ways to call for people's attention, which, for me, not being a person of social media required that I would experiment with a lot of things like TikTok or doing reels. I know that Dana knows a lot about that too. And then once you're able to make that connection, be able to continue with the engagement in telling your story. I feel that for me, and maybe Yasameen would know about this as well, it's a lot about my family story. And in that regards, I feel very thankful for people that have been so interested in wanting to learn more about who I am and, my family. My yaya, she's the person that I learned all the recipes from. So she has become a bit of a face of the company now. And just posting videos of her, and you start finding different ways of connecting with people. But yes, I have to agree. I am looking forward to farmers market season and being able to connect with everybody as well. We actually got accepted into 8 farmers markets this year. So keep an eye out. We're going to be making a post pretty soon here. But yeah, in the meantime, it's all about that social media and engaging virtually.
I think with that, we opened during the middle of a pandemic, and one of the missions behind MinnyRow is to create community, like Madison said, about food. It's something that is shared and is, for our market specifically, we wanted to create somewhere that people can share, I've tried this food and it's amazing, and share it with like our followers, and we can give them that piece. And so when we first opened, we wanted to have, like a fun opening, welcoming party and whatnot, but that was unrealistic, and it's not safe yet. And it, once that happens, that's how we kind of want to start that community piece. And yeah, I think the challenge for us was, not being able to get the word out as big of a way as we might wanted to, but yeah, it's been okay. And I think things are going to change, and they're going to look up, and we'll be able to have that, grand reopening party maybe in a year or something. So it will be fun then, but that's kind of how we started with that.
Yeah, I think the marketing and the storytelling and trying to connect with people while they're at home has been, one of the biggest challenges of 2020, and something that we've all had to adapt to. I think if you didn't have an e-com strategy, even if you were not in food, across industry, if you didn't have an e-com strategy before, you have one now. I think luckily for us, we were already starting the process of building and testing our Shopify site, and shipping online and shipping a refrigerated item is tricky. Shipping it out to the coasts is expensive. Luckily, my local UPS store helped Salsa Lisa back in the day when she was packaging and shipping her refrigerated salsas. So finding that knowledge source on that end of things really helped us set everything up for 2020 and adapt and finally be able to ship fresh product to customers' doors, and that was a game changer for us.
Great. So Belén, did I hear that right, that you are on TikTok?
No, not yet.
I just
have
started experimenting with it myself.
I did have my first reel, so I think that's a huge step forward. So, patting myself in the back for that one.
That's great. Okay, so what do you all love about the food scene in Minneapolis? And then pairing with that question, how do you think the evolution of shopping local has gone over the past, several years that some of you have been involved in the food industry?
I can go. I think there are a lot of opportunities here in the food scene, and I think that's growing. I think before you needed to have enough capital to have a storefront or a restaurant, and I don't think that's the case anymore. I think the barriers to entry are kind of smaller. You can do a farmer's market, a food hall, a food truck. I think the food offerings have become more diverse. It's not just the twist on Midwest favorites anymore. I think we're getting a lot of flavors and a lot of representation from all over the world. So I think the scene and the ecosystem, like you're saying, this move to small business and supporting small farmers has really there's been a surge and an influx, especially since we started our company in 2014. I think the whole ecosystem has responding to, filling the gaps and removing the barriers. And I think like the city of Minneapolis changing their licensing processes to like the Department of Ag helping small businesses with like reimbursements and grants and making it easier for smaller companies to offer those products and launch marketing campaigns to help, create more noise around their brands and to promote, farmers markets and buying has helped a lot.
I think we have a lot of access to fresh food too. So I think that awareness too is helpful. And I think that makes the food scene, like, especially like people are quick to refer to something. So like, if like, okay, I had this at this restaurant, or I had this at this place, the word gets spread very quickly, which is something I love at Minneapolis. That's kind of what I wanted to add. I don't know, Belén, you were starting to say something too.
No, you can go ahead. Yeah. Oh.
That's all I had.
Sorry. No, I would say that more of the food scene for me has been a lot, and perhaps, you might be able, if you've been, Yasameen, Madison, and Dana, if you've been here, obviously born here, or you moved here later time in life. I moved to the United States in 2012, and I only lived in Colorado for a very short, brief time back in 2006. But what I noticed after I moved here is that I feel the food community and everyone in the state is extremely supportive of small businesses and local, which I have been told by other people that is not the case in all the states. And so I think for us, there's a huge opportunity, because when you just open your business, and you're just using very small capital. We were using, some of our own personal savings, and we were just like getting a small grant of $1,000 with this organization, and then reinvesting that tiny profit that we got in the first year. So it's that struggle, that you don't have the working capital sometimes to meet your purchasing volumes so that you can get access to those price breaks. And you don't have access to what a company that has been in the industry for 5-10 years, or somebody that came into the market with a huge investment, capital investment, we don't have access to that. And it is such a precious thing to have your small company, and you want to be able to see it grow year after year. And for me, having access to what Dana is saying, that word of mouth, and be able to connect with smaller farmers that are willing to make you a delivery for maybe a dozen eggs, because I've been there. It's like, oh my God, Lisa, I ran out of, I need a pork shoulder. Can you just and they would drive all the way to Rochester to make a delivery for somebody else, and then they would drop off something at my kitchen. So I think that is one of the unique and amazing things about here, and something that has definitely allowed Quebracho to succeed year after year.
Yes, and I find with Minneapolis, and I've traveled quite a bit to other larger food cities, and I find Minneapolis is in its sweet spot size-wise, where we're small enough where people know each other, and like you said, can help each other out, almost like the neighbory feel. And we're not so massive that some of the big players or the small players, I guess, are not known. So on that same topic, Dana, I wanted to ask, given your business model is a little bit different than the other two here, what is the process that you take to identify partnerships to be at MinnyRow, and how do you think about that when making selections?
Yeah, so we don't have like a checklist or anything, but we try to plan for companies that are, have a mission, who are local, who haven't hit it mainstream yet, per se, that aren't on all the shelves of Whole Foods or Lawns or anything like that. Like some of the products we have will be featured there too, but our biggest thing is telling the vendor stories and letting people, get that background information. And so people who have a unique story, we want to highlight that and share that with our customers. And I think that's something that we're kind of standing by. And if it's a fun story, if it's something that's unique and not, to be honest, we get a lot of coffee recommendations and wanting requests, and there's a lot of coffee makers in Minnesota. And so we try to find a balance that are of makers who are using that product for additional story, like something to help, city of Minneapolis or help different organizations. And so that's how we kind of pick, those vendors, I guess, but we're always open to having like a rotating mix of things. So we don't want to get the same things on our shelves all the time as well. So it's a balance between that, I guess.
How often are you adding new vendors or rotating vendors through your store?
Yeah, every day, every week we have something new coming out and having new products. So yeah, last week we had Jinx Tea, that was our new vendor. And this week we're getting a restock on some local honey. So we tell people to just follow our stories and whatnot, because that's where we release latest vendors and whatnot.
Very cool. All right, switching gears, what is a recent success that you are proud of?
Wants to go? Okay, I can go. So I think 2021 is shaping up to be a pretty good year for Quebracho. Everything feels like a success in a small business. I'm gonna say that first. First of all, I think, whenever we're able to reach a milestone, it feels like a really big thing, because it is. But one of the big things for us is that we haven't met this goal yet, but we're going to meet it very, very soon. We're very close to being granted our USDA grant of inspection, which is what's going to allow us to wholesale beef and chicken empanadas to all the stores that we're at right now. And that has been probably one of the most difficult things that I've ever had to do. I've been working with a food safety consultant for the last year. I had to get nationally certified in, I'm not gonna get into the depths of it, but HACCP plans, it's very, very, it's a very intense or intensive way of production. We're going to have a daily inspector with us every single time that we're manufacturing anything that is related to beef and chicken empanadas, and we're going to have to be sending lab testings to an external lab. There's going to be a lot of sanitation involved. So I think that's going to be one of the biggest milestones for us this year. So yeah, that's the one for us.
Great.
I was laughing because I was wondering if surviving 2020 counted.
It does count.
I think, like so many businesses, I think the pandemic, like we face so many challenges, and I mean, our business is way better than it was in the beginning of 2020, now, but I think 2020 was a really tough year for us because we were on track for making some of these changes and already looking to grow and expand, but I think it all kind of sped it up for us. I mean, parts of it were sped up and then parts of it were kind of slowed down, right? I think we did a rebrand. We were sourcing new packaging. We changed all of our production to a co-manufacturer. I looked at, what it would cost to get a facility and buy the machine. And we just didn't have the capital to do all of that. so we were making all of these changes in a year where, you know, you're getting a lot of no's, and we didn't quite have the network of folks that we needed to know to make all of those changes in, you know, a really cohesive way. I think we faced a lot of delays in sourcing materials, like raw materials, garlic, ginger. When we chose our bottles and our lids, we chose that before the pandemic and kind of had a plan for everything, and then realized during the pandemic the lids that we identified were the same as all of the hand sanitizer bottles that were being made. So there were
Don't want that correlation.
no. There were manufacturers that I talked to that said, yeah, the lead time is 52 weeks, or people that would just like laugh and like never call you back.
Wow.
So I think our relaunch date was June 2020, and then August 2020, and then finally the week before Thanksgiving we had product on store shelves, and that felt really, you know, a blessing, because there was just so many things that we faced, you know, in the year. But I think at the end of 2020, we had started sending samples out for like coverage on our lunch, and the first sample that we sent out was to the New York Times, and they actually said yes and wrote a small little column about our products and our business, and it was just a really amazing way to end a really hard year.
Great.
Yeah, for us, I mean, the biggest success was opening, and you know, like you guys said, like every day it feels like survival. Like, okay, we can, you know, we're still here today. That's a success to us. So
Great. What are some of your guys' favorite small businesses, other small businesses, whether they're in Minnesota or available online?
I really like our vendors that we have in stores. Some of them, I mean, there's a ton, but I really enjoy outspoken vendors who are, you know, I don't know, very passionate about their products and are, you know, always creating something new. So like, yeah, I don't know if you want names, but Sweet True Buy, we're really fun to work with them. Get Down, if we go like big picture, I really like, there's a woman I follow on Instagram, Gloria Antonimo. She is kind of into traveling, but she's a business I like to follow. I don't know. Do you guys have some?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot that I look up to as role models, I would say. I think it really depends. There's a lot of things that I like to pick from different vendors. I mean, for example, I know that Yasameen has been one of my role models, because I feel we're sort of like trying to follow her steps a little bit, but her journey has been great in the sense of how she was able to bring on so much growth and to find that company structure that I feel we are seeking right now. This is not a business, but it's more of an organization. Lunar Startups, they're, for those of you that you don't know who they are an amazing organization in the Twin Cities, and their focus is helping startup founders, particularly those that are from minorities, and because precisely they're so aware of the disparities in access to resources and capital, that is the population that they choose to work with or focus on. One of the small businesses, she's actually not open anymore, but if you are familiar with Dulceria Bakery in South Minneapolis, Dulce Monterrubio had a fantastic program of being involved with the community, which is also one of the big things that I am trying to do, and trying to bring on a lot of that connection and trying to find ways to make an impact, whether it's, you know, not only with the community, but also like seeking sustainability at the level, you know, when you talk about sustainability, for me, it's not only about who you're sourcing from, but also financial sustainability and the sustainability of your team. And that to me is a very important thing, just being able to create a sustainable environment where you're providing good wages and you're creating, hopefully trying to inch in every day a little bit closer and trying to provide something better for those that work with you. Because at the end of the day, we are a family. Right now, we're a very small team, but hopefully one day in the future, we're going to be a bigger team. And, we all need to be able to work in an environment that we enjoy and that where everybody makes good benefits and good wages. And so those are, I would say, the three, Yasameen, Lunar, and Dulceria, the ones that I really look up to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also love Lunar. I was in cohort 2 and it totally changed my life. So shout out to the Lunar community for sure. One business that I've been following for the last year or so is Siete Foods out of Austin, Texas. And if you haven't already listened to their How I Built This interview, it's a podcast on NPR. You totally should. It's really amazing. I think their family story and their brand journey, there's just so many similarities with my business and my family and all the different dynamics of having a business with your family. So I definitely resonate with the brand and with what the owners are trying to do and trying to be in the food space. I think being an entrepreneur is already very vulnerable and isolating, and I think being a food entrepreneur is even harder. And then you add another layer of vulnerability when you're sharing part of your culture and your identity through your food business. So I think I have watched them grow and watched them break through barriers and do, amazing things in their region and across the US. And it's just been really an amazing story. And I think building a food business is challenging, and trying to celebrate your culture while you're doing it is another challenge. And I think they found the right mix, and they found a way to do it, and it's really cool to see.
It's great. I'll have to listen to that podcast. I like that podcast in general.
Yeah.
All right. I think, Claire, do you have a question? There might have been a hand raised.
No, that was an accident. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no problem. All right. So how did each of you come up with the name of your business? My business name is very creative, so I'm sure you guys have no idea how I came up with Madison and Minneapolis, but would we be curious to know how you came up with your names?
Sure. MinnyRow is Minnie short for Minnesota, and Row is a nickname for our daughter, Rowan. And then it kind of worked as we use Row as synonymous with like street or avenue, and we're on Main Street in Hopkins, so MinnyRow Market worked out for us.
Well, Quebracho is a hardwood tree that grew at one point abundantly in my province, Santa Fe, Argentina. And it is the preferred type of firewood to grill and smoke meats. And it's before, like I said, before we were Quebracho Empanadas, we were Quebracho charcuterie and pies. My last job in the food world was at the Bachelor Farmer, and I gladly had the opportunity to work in their charcuterie and fermentation program quite a bit. So I fused that experience that I had with, years and years of grilling with my dad on Sundays. I was always a bit of, not a pest, but I would say every day, every Sunday, I was there with my dad, just asking him if I could light up the fire and then just like throw things over the embers and just grill with him. So that's how that came about. Just being able to fuse my heritage and my love for food and working with meats and well, yeah, food in general.
I think I said before, Maazah means flavor in Farsi, and our family and our culture are just they're the most important elements of our business, and that's why we chose Maazah. Another translation, there's not many words in Farsi that are like this, but you can also use Maazah to describe like a beautiful summer night. So it can be for like something that's, like really great tasting food, or something that like satisfies your soul, or like hits the spot right in the right way. Um, so that was kind of how we landed on it.
Love that.
Mhm.
Okay, so we'll do a couple more questions, and then I think we can open it up to Q&A from the rest of the folks on this call. So if you guys have a question, feel free to either put it in the chat, or we can just have it open and people can come off mute. But a couple more questions to wrap my portion up. What is next for you all? What are you looking forward to in the next year?
Well, Quebracho, we are going to be focusing on a little bit of internal growth and restructuring. As we decided to become a wholesale manufacturer, last year's changes were very quick and good for the company. But with that came a lot of internal growth, a big learning curve that we had to take on. And as we are, entering that path, we realized that there's going to be a lot of restructuring on the internal part of the company. So that's on one side, but then also definitely trying to expand our offerings into more stores. We are in conversations with more stores as well. We are right about to close with our first distributor. So hopefully that will bring us to more homes, not only across the Twin Cities, but hopefully the state. So.
Right.
We're looking to kind of get more consistent in our offerings, and just kind of build up our inventory, expand what we have currently, and then just getting to know more of our vendors and telling their stories. It's been fun to do, and I want to get through a lot more vendors that we have and share that with our customers.
I think this was already said before, but I think the farmers markets, like being with people again and face to face with customers and talking to people about our products and what they're eating it on, I think that is what I'm most looking forward to this year. I think there are some really great opportunities, for expansion and other things, but mostly I just like want to get vaccinated and like out and talking to folks.
Me too. All right, so the last question I have is, what advice do you have for individuals, and specifically women, that are looking to open their own business or break into the food world?
Don't be scared to ask for help. That's the big one that I'll say. We're all here to support each other. And I can't say how many times I held a question or held back from asking questions, thinking that nobody was willing to answer, that it was going to put me in a place of weakness if I, admitted that I didn't know something. And it was completely the opposite. Once I learned that it's okay to ask for help, that only accelerated the growth, and it increased the connection with other fellow businesses or business owners and people in general. Listen to your customers, listen to what they have to say, your friends. Be willing to take criticism. It's all there to help you provide a better product and a better service. So probably if you're thinking of opening a business, that would be my very first advice.
Yeah, I would kind of, to piggyback off that, I would say like failure it's going to happen. So like with that, like don't look at it as failure, kind of just look as a growth opportunity is what I think is a big learning cue I've learned. And then I also think surrounding yourself with other people who are trying to get to that next level is very important. and helps you kind of stay in the game and kind of stay where you eye on the prize, I guess. That's what I would recommend, and give yourself grace.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, and I think there's a lot of reasons why people don't start their businesses, and I think it is because you're scared or you think you're gonna fail. But I mean, it's like kind of working. Like small businesses and small brands are taking over. I think the role of small business and food founders is changing. I think we're not just talking about the Cinderella success stories anymore when, a farmers market company becomes a national brand. I think we're talking about small businesses and food makers, across the country. I think we are the sources of innovation in our industry, and we're being recognized for it. We're disrupting categories, we're creating new categories, we're winning against bigger competitors on taste, on authenticity, on ingredients. Like, yes, it is scary, but like we're doing it, and you don't necessarily like need to have a fully fleshed out idea or need to like come up with a new technology to like process almonds or coconuts or something. You can be innovative in all the different ways that I mentioned. You can do it in your packaging, you can do it in your branding and your story and your offerings. And I think there's still a lot to be uncovered and a lot of businesses that need to be out there and need to be made. So come on and jump in the pool with us.
I resonate with the fear piece. I think for me personally, I've had the imposter syndrome of why am I qualified to, I've advised some chefs on social media strategy, or I've helped with website design. I've, thought about writing a book about the food scene in Minneapolis. And all of those times I had a voice in my head saying, why are you qualified to do that, right? You haven't had XYZ experience yet. And, you need to go through all these steps before you can jump in and do that. And I think for women especially, there's that voice in their head of just, be thoughtful and take your time. And sometimes, like you said, just jumping in and taking the risk and not being afraid of failure is what makes you most successful.
Agreed. I heard something that was fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real. And that kind of really spoke to me because it is, it's not real. It's all in your head. And
yeah, for sure. All right. Are there any questions from the rest of the people on the Zoom call? So here's one that came in. What do you hope for in the future of the food scene in the Twin Cities? Do you think the challenge of the pandemic has brought positive change in our community in terms of how we connect to food and local businesses?
I think if anything, the pandemic has helped us all think outside the box a little bit. I am a member, or we sell our empanadas through this online marketplace called Frank and Ernest Market. And I think that was such a fantastic tool that was born out of the pandemic when we were all scrambling and trying to find ways to continue engaging with our customer base and selling our products. That was, created or was created by the Linden Hills Farmers Markets as a response to the pandemic, and it gave us all small businesses a way to continue to working. So I think, definitely, they are in year one and they're still learning every week. It's a learning experience even till this day, but their site just keeps getting better and better. And I'm just excited to see how far it can get. Is it going to be the next Gold Belly out of Minnesota? And like Yasameen was saying, there's so much potential in Minnesota, and there's so much willingness from big organizations and nonprofits to help these emerging brands and concepts to continue thriving and to actually make it to a regional level and a national level. That I think that's a really exciting way. And not only because of what it means, but the possibility of not only us as small brands, but also small farmers to be able to have that vehicle to get their product to the cities or to big selling hubs.
And I think, I do think the pandemic has brought kind of a positive change in the community, just because I feel like people are more willing to support local because of, what's happened. You want to support your community a little bit more. And I've said it before, kind of with what Minnesota especially went through last year. And I think a lot of people realize that, Minnesota business is the heart of our community, and why would we not support our community and, put your money in Minnesota, I guess. So I do think that has a positive change.
Yeah, I think when we were looking for more resources and trying to figure out what we wanted to do with Maazah, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we were contacting people on the coasts, right? Like there wasn't as many resources here, or and people were like, you have Target and General Mills and Cargill in your backyard. Like, what is going on over there? And I think over the last 5 years, and especially in the last year, it has completely changed. I think the larger companies are stepping up to help and support build the ecosystem, help and support and continue to build the ecosystem so small businesses can win. I think we've seen them donate time, we've seen them donate, strategy calls, and the Grow North community has been amazing during the pandemic. If you're not already a part of Grow North and you're a food business, you totally should be. Opportunities like the Minnesota Cup for businesses like ours is really great, and that's across industry. That's not just food. What else? Yes, positive change.
Great. Any more questions before we wrap up? Okay.
We've gotten a couple of comments.
Yeah. It was great to facilitate this conversation with you three. I'm honored to learn from you.
Likewise, yeah, and I'm very thankful for the 41 people that attended. Thank you all for your support. It feels really wonderful to see how many people are interested in our stories, and I see Ellen there enjoying her empanada. Thank you, Ellen. So yeah, thank you. I mean, to me, it's been a great journey, and it just keeps getting better. And I think this is such a wonderful community to be in and to be doing this in.
I agree. I'm very lucky to be part of this, and I thank you guys for inviting me. And I love showcasing our stuff at your store. So thank you, Belén and Yasameen, for having our products here.
Thank you for having the shelf space and the vehicle to reach new people. That's what you're doing is awesome. I think if anybody is on this call that is thinking about starting a food business, please do it. It's so much fun. It's going to be really scary, but I think someone trying something new and contributing to this space and the system is, we all benefit from it. We all benefit from, emerging businesses taking over. So come on in.
I guess my little cat is trying to say hi to all of you guys too.
Yes. I captured a really great moment, Belén, where there was a hello going on.
Oh.
Okay, Madison, should we close off then?
Yes, that sounds good.
And you did get a reassurance from Ria to definitely write the book, and I Agree 100%.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Thank you so
everyone.
much, everybody.
thank you, everyone.
Have a
And
great day.
if you're looking for behind the scenes of MinnyRow, we actually did a tour earlier this week. So check that out on our social media. It's on Facebook and Instagram at Kimaton, and it's pretty fun. And you'll see both Maazah and Quebracho there.
Cool.
Great.
Thank you
Have a good
again.
week,
Have a
everyone.
wonderful
Bye.
day.
Thank you
Bye.
all.